Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Secretary, for being here this morning with us. Let me start by saying it's amazing to me that our colleagues on the other side of the aisle want to defend an agency that I believe has become an abject failure. If you look at the stats of students across the United States, the reading scores have plummeted, the math scores have plummeted, we are not doing well in science, and we have to do something different. You mentioned Oklahoma and Governor Stitt, and in Oklahoma, we have certainly adopted charter school programs and have expanded school choice, and I think it's important to talk about why school choice is so important. You have students attending Good Shepherd, which is a school in Oklahoma that is focused on making sure that our students with developmental disabilities, particularly with autism, have the opportunity to attend a school that meets their needs. You have Mission Academy, which is a school that helps children who are battling substance abuse. It's a very unique environment for them to be able to leave a public school, in many cases they've been in, and be able to get a specialized education, but also address the issues of substance abuse with these young people. So I applaud what you're trying to do. I think it's important that we look at the results. That's what we're looking for here. As a mother myself who decided to send my children to a private Catholic school because I wanted them to get a faith-based education, that was my choice. And I appreciate that. And it is frustrating to me to hear my colleagues talk about how great education is when we know the numbers say something very different. So I want to start with that. I applaud your efforts to return education to the states and reduce the bloated DC bureaucracy. In 2023, the average U.S. Department of Ed employee made $112,000, and the average teacher in my home state of Oklahoma made $61,000. As you know, under President Trump, the department was the smallest cabinet-level agency, but controlled the sixth largest budget. I would like you to, maybe in more detail, describe some of the reforms you're implementing to cut waste, fraud, and abuse at the department and return education to the states. And particularly, I want to make it very clear, you said something in a previous response that I think is worth noting, and that is you are not eliminating Title I-A funding and you are not eliminating IDEA funding, which is important to students and families in my state. But can you elaborate a little bit on what you're looking at restructuring for the Department of Ed?
Certainly. Well, first of all, we did look at numbers of employees we had at the Department of Education, and based on the fact that we are looking to wind down the department, we started looking at, was there overlap in the number of people that we had? So we did reduce the department by about half, but we brought some back when we really evaluated all of our programs. I think we've looked at them very carefully. We wanted to make sure we had the right number of people doing the right number of jobs. We are doing that. We are delivering on all of our statutorily required programs. We haven't missed a beat on those. And so I'm happy to report that. And so I think that was a big thing. But when you also look at rent, when you look at utilities, when you look at building space, we've decreased that footprint. So we're having savings there. But other ways we're looking at savings. We have examined some of the contracts. One of the things we've talked about here are the NAEP scores, the Nation's Report Card. And I want to assure everyone the NAEP scores are going to continue. The contracts are in place to take us through the next 4 or 5 years. It is important to have a national report card. But what we found out in looking at all of the IES contracts was that we were spending about $1 billion a year on programs and contracts and surveys and research that stayed on the shelves in schools. Teachers didn't use them. Other superintendents didn't use them. So we've taken a good close look at that, and as we enter into the new contracts, we've cut that by over 40% already. So that is one big cost savings, and those are the kinds of things we're doing. We're taking a look at what has just been kind of status quo. We can no longer have status quo.
Thank you for that. And one quick other point I want to bring up, and I don't think we have time for a full response, but under the Biden administration, there were 2,500 anti-Semitic incidents on college campuses and K through 12 schools. I have a friend who lives here in the Washington, D.C. metro area. His daughters were attending a public school. They are Jewish. They were targeted by other students. The public school did nothing. And they were forced to remove their children from that public school and put them in a private school. So I hope you will continue to fight to stand up for our friends so that they don't continue to see this anti-Semitic rhetoric across the country in schools. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield.
Mr. Pocan.
Thank you, Mr.